never made it, but I know what it takes. I'm motivated by a mix of emotion. Got my statement, and I'm reading it slow so I can understand it fully. Appreciate my standing, go out of this world and right on time. Oh, never in my life have I seen the sky light up like this. I'm far away from Earth and I wanna know if you exist. Mission control, do you read me? Send me my coordinates lately. Mission control, am I drifting? Tie me to someone who will love me, yeah. Wait, I think I'll last a bit longer. Fine.
Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone. Welcome everyone to another Ref Brandon and the Todd family YouTube video. Wherever you are, whatever you may be doing, thank you so much for making Ref Brandon and the Todd family part of your day. We always greatly appreciate it. It is time for my first early 2024 college football team prediction, and I'll get to that in a couple of minutes. But first, I want to say that since it is March the 7th, that means this Saturday is the second Saturday in the month of March, which means I'll be back at 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia, for SWA Wrestling. Don't forget that Cade Powers is the new premier champion, and Tower is the new blood champion. And Tower will put his new blood championship on the line Saturday night against Jimmy Lee. We're also going to have the tag team championships on the line when the current champions, Forewarned, take on this or that. All that and more is coming up Saturday night, 244 Livestock Road, East Denali, Georgia. Doors open at 6 o'clock. Bell time is 7 o'clock. And tickets are only $5. Cheapest wrestling ticket you will find this side of the Mississippi. So come on out and be with us Saturday night for SWA Wrestling and see all the fallout from last month's Reloaded. But I decided, since it is almost mid-March, it is time for my first 2024 college football team preview. Now, if you've watched this channel at all since I started it almost 3 years ago, I believe Saturday will mark 3 years here on the channel, you know that I don't sit here and go too much in depth on a team's schedule. I'm not going to talk about it for an hour, especially when it's still just March. There's just so much that can change between now and when the season actually gets here. So all I do is tell you when they play, their opponents, and what their record will be, in my personal opinion. I picked South Carolina as my very first team. The reason why I picked them is because going into last season, I said they'd be about a 5 or 6 win team, and that's exactly what they were last year. And earlier this week, Shane Beamer made himself look like a complete, total buffoon. And when I saw the video, I said, you know what? When I start talking college football, that's the team I want to talk about. And in case you, by some chance, have not heard, Shane Beamer hired 2 new assistant coaches during this offseason. Well, before they ever even coached a game, they've left. Well, Shane Beamer, I think, was trying to make them either look bad or trying to make it look like the Gamecocks would be okay. But what he said was, well, we did our actual research this time, and we think we found better coaches than what they were anyway. Which, maybe he's right. Maybe the guys he hired will be better coaches. But when you're the head coach of the program and you come out and say, this time we've done our research and we found better coaches, then you're pretty much admitting you hired the last guys without doing your research, which makes you look like a complete, total idiot. That's your job as the head coach, is to do your research on the players, on the assistants, on the staff in general, anybody, no matter what it is. So when you come out and say, we've done our research this time, we found better coaches, you might think you're making the last coach look bad by saying we found a better guy, but you're making yourself look bad because you're saying, hey, last time I was lazy and didn't do my job. So if this doesn't work out, he makes himself look even stupider than he already did, which is pretty doggone hard. But South Carolina will have 2 bye weeks this year. Of course, they've got 8 conference games and 4 non-conference games. They open up on August 31st against the Monarchs of Old Dominion. And then on September the 7th, they start conference play with Kentucky. September the 14th, they play LSU. And then on September 21st, they play their second non-conference game against Akron. And then week 5, which is the final weekend in September, is their first bye week of the year. Opening up October on the 5th against Ole Miss. And then on the 12th, they play Alabama. Then on the 19th of October, they play the Oklahoma Sooners. And then week number 9, which is the final weekend in the month of October, is their second bye week of the season. Opening up November on the 2nd, they play the Texas A&M Aggies. On November the 9th, they play Vanderbilt. Then on the 16th of November, they play Missouri. And then on the 23rd of November, they play the Wofford Terriers. And then, of course, they wrap up the season on November 30th against Clemson. Now, first, let me say that they play 3 games in October: Ole Miss, Alabama, Oklahoma. So I think South Carolina goes winless in the month of October. I've got them winning 5 games, 2 SEC games, and 3 non-conference games, because I think they'll beat Old Dominion, Akron, and Wofford in their non-conference games. In conference, I think they'll beat Texas A&M, and I think they'll beat Vanderbilt. So I've got them at 5-7. They play Kentucky in week 2, and maybe they get Kentucky since the game is so early and Kentucky's breaking in a brand new quarterback just like South Carolina is. But if my prediction is right and they go 5-7, maybe 6-6, I think it's the end of Shane Beamer as the Gamecocks head coach. And I also think it'll be the end of Ray Tanner as their athletic director, because since Ray Tanner has been their AD, he hasn't done anything right except for hire the women's basketball coach, and they now have the best women's basketball program in America, and it's not even nowhere near close. But the problem is nobody cares about girls basketball. So you can win 175 straight titles in girls basketball and nobody cares. But outside of hiring Dawn Staley, Ray Tanner has done nothing right. Their baseball program ain't what it used to be back when he was the coach. Their football program has been stuck in mediocrity for the better part of a decade now. And I think he's finally hired the right basketball coach. But we all know in collegiate sports, if you don't win at football, none of the other sports matter. And Will Muschamp was a terrible hire, but with Will Muschamp, he was like the 15th guy in line, and every other guy they talked to said no, no, no. So you can't really hold that against Ray Tanner when every guy that he goes and gets says no. When you got to hire somebody, you've got to have a coach. But in the case of Shane Beamer, for whatever reason, even though I've said here on the channel from day one, I think Beamer's an absolute clown. For whatever reason, when they fired Will Muschamp, Shane Beamer was the very first guy on Ray Tanner's list. And he said right away, I'm calling Shane Beamer. Still don't know why, but that was his mindset. And since Shane Beamer was the very first coach he wanted to talk to, and Beamer took the job, if it fails, then it's 100% on Ray Tanner, because it's not like Will Muschamp where 15 guys said no. Beamer was the very first guy that you wanted to talk to, so this decision was completely on you. So if it doesn't work, he can't blame anybody else but himself. So if the Gamecocks do go 5-7 or 6-6, I think it'll be the end of Shane Beamer. And I think it'll also be the end of Ray Tanner as their athletic director. He could be fired. He could step down. He could retire. But I think if the Beamer experiment fails, that's the end of Ray Tanner. Any thoughts on this? Please feel free to let me know. Let's go ahead and get our dad joke of the day in here. What did the doctor say to the gingerbread man? I see you've got a sore knee. Have you tried icing it? And that does it for today's Ref Brandon and the Todd Family YouTube video. Until next time, it's Ref Brandon saying, just like in pro wrestling, life can be over by the count of 3. Tell your friends and family how much you love them. Bye.